Anyways, today is all right. Let me restart my little intro, guys. So today is episode 2 of 2K CrossFire for Season 5 of the NBA 2K League. Today, we're going to be talking about a couple things around the league. We're going to talk about, obviously, some big things sticking out, like the Pacers Gaming. We're going to talk about Hawks Talent, Grizz Gaming, and a couple other teams around the league. We're going to be doing NBA 2K League Stock Watch. I'll kind of explain that when we get to that. And we'll also do Start Bench Cut. So today with me, I have 3 special guests. I'm going to actually transition over into the other room, the other screen. So today with me, we have 3 special guests. I'm actually going to take this down real quick. Let me switch over to this, guys. Funny story, if you guys didn't know. I was working on my stock watch thing and all my stuff, and all my files got corrupted on my computer. So I'll be fixing that up while we're going over around the league. So I'm going to bring in all our guests at once. We're not really going to do any kind of formal introductions as we normally do. So let me bring in, I got all 3 of my guys. I have JT, I have Jack, and I have Ye today with me. All, of course, former pros. Again, that's what 2K Crossfire is about, bringing on former pros, kind of getting their insight. But hey, without further ado, what's up, guys?
What's good, champ?
That's good. So we're going to be starting out with around the league. So basically, around the league is kind of just touching base on all the teams, and all the different teams like Hawks. Of course, we're going to start out with here. So obviously, I know a lot of you guys kind of had chances to watch the tip-off tournament here and there, and we saw that a team that has a group of new players, new names for the same Hawks team. JT, what was your thoughts on the Hawks so far in this tip-off tournament?
Lackadaisical, lackluster. Just a team that's disappointing. But I still have firm belief that they'll turn it around. I don't think they'll stay this bad. I just think they had a bad start.
So what was wrong with them though? Why do you think they had such a bad start in your opinion?
Offense, I mean, as much as I can say half the league or over half the league is struggling, they're really struggling. Multiple times in their games, I've seen them start and it'll be midway through the second quarter and they have 10 damn points. And that's your defense can only do so much. Do they have a bottom lock in the league? Yes, but you can't really blame him unless you're scoring and not getting stops. If you're not scoring, you can't speak on defense. You have to be able to kind of do both. It has to be a kind of give and take thing. You have to be able to score, but also be able to get some stops to open up the ability to score. But it's doing that. If you're down 10-20 midway through the second quarter, you have enough stops. You're just not scoring the damn ball.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, in my opinion, with Hawks talent, I mean, there's still games left to be played, and there's plenty of season to be. I mean, I don't want to say plenty of season because it's all tournament play, but that's another thing too. Is this team in danger? The fact that this team didn't perform in this first tournament, does this kind of, in a way, put them in danger for their playoffs in jeopardy at all? KT?
I was about to say, who's that directed at? In my opinion, no, it's too much of the season left. It's still another tournament. It's still the ticket. It's never over until it's over. Mm-hmm. No team's season is over until they lose in the ticket, and you shouldn't think otherwise until you lose in the ticket.
Mm-hmm. I just want to jump over to Jack real quick. So, Jack, I know you've obviously been busy. I don't know if you got a chance to watch every game of the
tournament. I saw all the games. I've been keeping up.
Yeah. So, what was your thoughts on Hawks talent? Just obviously them starting out. I'm pretty sure they're 0-3 or 0-2, if I'm not mistaken. But what was your thoughts on them?
Yeah, I mean, I think they don't really know who's supposed to be doing what. I think they're not playing at a good pace. They don't have any organization on defense. And they don't have an X factor from last year to resort to close games or, quite frankly, keep them in games. So I think doing it as a team effort, they don't have enough chemistry yet to play like that. And they got to switch some things up. maybe for their own morale, or just kind of go to the film room and copy some teams' offense and defense. I think like there's just no structure yet for that team. Obviously, they're a new team. I don't want to just completely rip on them, but they definitely got to turn it around. And with respects to the playoffs, it 100% puts them in a tough position to make playoffs. They're 0-3. I think there's 3 total tournaments. And I mean, there wasn't much signs of light in any of those games, to be honest. So I think obviously it's early. They're not out. Obviously, that's stupid to say they're out, but they need to make a change for sure, and it's not like a quick fix.
Yeah. No, I mean, I definitely think that they don't have much time either to make these fixes, and that's kind of the tough thing about this season.
Yeah, man, you had a whole month and a half, and it's like there's no way you're just winning all those scrims playing like.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree with you on this end. Yay. What is your thoughts on this Hawks situation? Are they are we sounding the alarm? Are they in are they in trouble? Are they basically like the Lakers of last year?
It's too early to kind of call them the Lakers of last year. I think the thing with them going into their second game of the season, I can't remember who it was exactly, but they seemed very it wasn't excited to play. They seemed kind of checked out before the game even started. The guys aren't didn't seem locked in, or they sit in the back of their chairs, put back texting. Then they went out and got flooded. So I don't know what the conversations are going into that locker room. But I think JT had said it the best. It's easy to put the blame on Swan, but if you watch the way they've been playing, nobody's really stepping up for him, and the guards are struggling getting a bucket on the other end. So I think through and through, it's just kind of tough. Maybe it's chemistry issues, but I think JT made it also another good point that the season ain't over until you lose into the ticket. So they got time to turn it around. I think they're out of the tip-off, but I mean, they got time to go back to the drawing board and figure out what to do for the term.
Yeah, definitely. The next team we're going to move on to, because again, we're going to jump around the league. I want to jump over to the Pacers. So if you guys didn't see, so during the Pacers game, there was obviously a controversial play. I kind of want to get your guys' thoughts on that controversial play during that game. I'm going to start with Ye.
Wait, what?
I think they showed a little content segment going over the play and why he didn't make that extra pass. Or it was I kind of saw this by the looks of it. I think he was just in his mind. He was like, I'm throwing it regardless. And then he was able to throw it back to 630. He had the easy dunk. Should have just dunked it, but if you're, when you hone in on a play, it's kind of hard to just go away from it. But 630 kind of threw a panic pass right after that, and even though they might have had 3-4 seconds left.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard to really play the blame game on it. The easiest way to look at it is maybe Vandy should have just dunked it, but you can't blame the entire game on one play.
Yeah, I mean, there was that play, and there was also, what was your thoughts on the whole situation with that 3 shot that didn't count in the corner from Lav, where the shot clock expired? What were your thoughts on that play as well? Because we talked about this in the Spaces the other day, and the Pacers ended up not getting their 3 points, and they still received the loss. Which again, we had a debate: do they get the 3 points? Do they what's going on? You know what I mean? Did you think that they should have been awarded 3 points, or was there something? Did they do it wrong? Did the league get it wrong in this situation? Not stepping in for the Pacers early on in that game and giving them the 3 points. What was your thoughts on that?
I think they should have given them the 3 points. That's kind of bogus how the game kind of glitches like that. I didn't get any experience on this league bill yet, so I don't know all the glitches and all the bullshit that kind of comes out of it. I guess we'll see later on in the season, but it has to come to a point where things like this can't keep happening because you're going to hear about it every single week. So it's good to get a jump on it right away. So I think they should have stepped in right away and just gave them the 3 points, because I think both sides would have understood. I don't think it's a single person in the party. I mean, I guess the other team could bitch about it later, but they still understand. They don't want it to happen to them. So if they would have jumped in, I think everybody would have been okay with it. At least just would have took it and went on.
Yeah. Jack, what was your thoughts on this whole situation with this play where basically the shot went in, but it didn't count, and the Pacers ended up losing by only 1 point? If this shot would have counted, it would have won them the game. Do you think the league should have counted it? Do you think, what's your thoughts on this whole entire situation?
No, I don't think the league could have counted it. I think the league did the right thing. I think what the league could do going forward is saying, hey, if this happens again, we stop play and do a spread type of thing. But I think just the algorithm that's already implemented into 2K. And just the way people play when they're down, like obviously you're more carefree. It's a different game if that shot goes in. Like, they're not down 4 shooting that 3 on the break, with whatever 30 seconds left. Like, it's a whole different situation. I don't think you can just award them the win. Like, it's way easier to play down 4.
Mm-hmm.
Or, the team's going to give up a 2, and then if you have a 3-point spread that the other team doesn't know about, that's definitely not fair to do to the Warriors. But, like, I think going forward, you could implement a rule saying that if that happens, you stop the game and restart, or, it's just part of the game. I think it's something that's been in 2K for a little while now. It's, at the end of the day, it's not what won or lost in the game. I think, they were throwing the ball to the other team.
No, I agree. I would just reframe my
job.
I want to reframe my answer a little bit. I think, I agree with Jack. Like, maybe get one of those extended timeouts to kind of alert both teams that we're counting that basket, at least mid game. But waiting to the end of the game is kind of crazy now. Think about it.
Yeah, I think that it was something that maybe League Ops just wasn't aware of, or I don't know what happened, or they just they didn't have any determination of it. Like, I'm not sure, but it's
it's a fluke. It's a rare that happens, I assume, and it's it's unfortunate. You kind of just got to play through it.
Yeah,
it's an easy thing to look back and say, "Oh, if this would have happened, this would have happened," but that's not.
I mean, yeah. At this point, we can't really do nothing about it. I mean, we got to move on.
Yeah, just get better and hopefully, I'm sure there will be a solution for it going forward. I think that's kind of the way you go about that.
Yeah. JT, what was your thoughts on this whole situation?
Well, first off, I've been playing 2K for 20 years. So if you don't know it by now, a glitch in the game, and it happens at the end of quarters, you can goaltend at the end of quarters, and it won't count. So that's kind of what happened there. When it went in the net, in a sense, on the way, it looks like Chaos, I guess, tipped it. So it didn't count as a shot. Now, should they have gotten 3 points? In a sense, if they're going to get it, they should have received them instantly. But to lose by a possession and then go back and say, man, if we got that, we win. No, because if the Warriors know y'all have that, that's still a different game.
Yep.
The game is played differently if they know they're down 3, down 2, whatever. That changes everything. So to really say, oh man, we got cheated, that's why we lost. No, the fuck it's not, bro. It's 4 minutes left in the first quarter. You were down 3-0 and it happened, you went down 5-0, bro. That's not why you lost. You lost because y'all didn't play good. It's okay, whatever, fuck it. But it was the first quarter. Playing the first quarter will never be why you lose a damn game. And if it is, look in the damn mirror.
Well, let me ask you this at this point for the Pacers. So, and I'll go to JT first with this one. With the Pacers at this point in the season, is their season in jeopardy? Are they what is the switch here? Because the biggest thing is when we watch these games, 630 has not been shooting well. He's not shooting like he was last year, MVP numbers. He starts out slow and then kind of picks it up late in games. And they just had a tough game against the Kings, which, I mean, they got freaking flooded at that point. But what do you think is going on in this Pacers locker room? Is their season in trouble at this point, JT?
In my opinion, no, because what I also wanted to say with the last point, when you're 0-3 right now, if you win 2 more games and you don't make it out of group play, but 2 teams that do make it out of group play and your group also win 3 games, they have 1 more point than you. And if they lose in bracket play in the first round, it's a 1-point difference. So it's no point to panic because a lot of these teams will be only separated by a point or 2, and it's a long season to go. So it's if you're 2-3, 3-2, if you lose first round of bracket play, you didn't do much more but to have a point to you. That's not gonna be the biggest difference. So it's no reason to panic because every game still matters. Just because you're not gonna make it out of group play doesn't mean don't try to win those last 2 games to keep your team fighting. But if you go 0-5, that's when it's all right, now you're in trouble. But at the same time, how they play and how they look, and 630 getting open, he gets open more than anybody in the damn league. He just doesn't hit his shots. He gets a foul, he breaks his back. I've heard of connection issues, lag issues. I don't know exactly what his story is, but I think he'll just only get scarier. I think the way he's playing, he gets what he wants. And people say, "Ooh, slow down his volume and all of that." He only does that because Vandy doesn't do a damn thing. Once Vandy starts acting like the damn game has started, they'll be fine.
So I kind of want to ask. I actually want to touch on the Vandy situation. So obviously he didn't. I mean, I don't want to say he necessarily played bad because but he got shots up, but he definitely was a little. I don't know. I guess timid is the way I want to say. Like he at moments he didn't really step up when he needed to, and didn't bring that scoring load that 630 was. Basically the Pacers were expecting. Like, what's your thoughts on this relationship between these two guards? And I'll kind of go over to Ye, and I'll come back to you, JT. But Ye, what's your thoughts on this backcourt of Vandy and 630? Do you think it's going to work, or do you see a possible trade down the line in this season with the current state of things?
I think with the dynamic they have on the team, I think they'll be able to figure it out. It might just be some growing pains. They've never been in this situation together with another ball handler in the backcourt, so I think it might take a couple games to adjust. They're saying that, like JT said, 630 is getting to his shots. It's just not knocking them down. Don't know if it comes down to connection. I don't think you press the panic button right away or too early to trade for Vandy because I think if things if push come to shove, you could just switch them and just even when we had Swizzerk out there,
when do
I think Vandy should be able
panic?
to do that.
When do you panic in this season? Like in this season this year, when does the panic start for teams?
It's hard to say with the Pacers just because I think Cody kind of lives and dies on the ship. So he kept Ohio the whole time. Then again, nobody wanted him, so I get it. But I don't think he's really just shopping Vandy this early. This year being so different when it's just tournaments, it's tough to call, man. I don't know. I really don't know. I have a great answer for that, just because I don't know when is it too late to look at your team as a bus, and maybe during turn time, and then another question is, when is the trade deadline? So finding value for somebody like Vandy once it's too late might be too tough. So they might just have to chalk it up and figure it out.
Yeah, definitely. Jack, what's your thoughts on this backcourt situation and just overall, your final thoughts on this team going down the line? Should they start panicking?
Yeah, I think to start with the backcourt, I think they're lackluster. I think they're an upgraded Hawks team, honestly. Obviously, 630 is an incredible 2K player, MVP, no doubt about it. But you still got to win the game. And I don't think there's much unity between them right now, at least. And I think in terms of panicking, it's just about how scrims are going and about how the team morale is. It's the same five you're going to be with the whole season. You're not going to really switch that up. So it's if everyone's bought in and everyone believes in it, that's kind of all you could ask for, I think. But mixing up, putting Vandy to the 2, 630 to the 1, I don't think is a bad idea. But I also think there's a lot of games they could have won. Warriors are in my eyes, looked like the most complete team to start. So I don't think that's a bad loss. And it was a close game, obviously. And then, the Kings one was tough. I think a lot of that had to do with the momentum coming off that Warriors game, though. And the Kings look good as well. They're in a tough bracket. I just don't even from before the season, I didn't really like that backcourt. At the end of the day, if you're the point guard, you still got to close the game. And I don't think when the game's on the line, they know who to go to yet. I think it's kind of unclear. Obviously, the point guard usually should have the ball, or Vandy has to learn how to put shooting guard 630 in a spot where he can close the game without having to dribble the ball the whole time, because obviously he's on a shooting guard build. How to come off off ball effectively, or just put him in a spot where you can create a mismatch for 630 to close the game. I don't think they know how to do that, or are comfortable doing that yet. And I think until they are, then there's not really a point to have 630 on the 2, and he's obviously the guy who has to, take them home when it's time.
Do you think so? Obviously, you were on one of the greatest defense in 2K League history. What would be the strategy going into this Pacers team? Would you guys just let Vandy beat you? Because it seemed like a lot of teams kind of It looked like that's kind of what some teams were doing, was just like, we'll let Vandy beat us, not 6:30.
No, I mean, I think you obviously got to apply pressure to the ball the whole game. Like, you're never just going to let Vandy walk up the court and score. Like, I don't think it would be as much that. I think it's more just like tendencies when each of them get the ball, and obviously, like, running less hyper rotations on Vandy than we would on 6:30. But I think, the biggest thing is just making them both think the entire game. And I think, like, these are. I think like you just kind of got to play the mental battle with these two. Like they're obviously they both know all the moves and whatnot, but it's like if I think you can outlast them for what it's worth. That would be my strategy going in. Hopefully, and I think their ability to come back in games is not like I wouldn't bet on that. Like I think if I got a lead, then I'm in a good spot against that team, and that's a nice thing that's a good feeling to know. Even when they're up, like I don't think that they're going to be able to keep a lead as effectively as other teams would. So, like, my strategy with them is kind of just keep the game close, limit the mistakes early, and make them beat you early. And then, like, if it's a close game in the fourth quarter, I guess I like my chances. But to your point, it helps when we had the best defense ever. So it's, I don't know if that's my strategy or just the fact that we're going to get a lot of stops, and then that would be anybody's strategy.
Yeah. JT, thoughts on this backcourt? When should they panic? When should they make moves? When should 6:30 basically go to the point guard position if they are to make changes? Like, overall, your final thoughts on this Pacers team?
To be honest, I don't. I would at least give them until the end of this tourney. Like I would see how they look in their last two games, because if you watch them, they're the most surprising 0-3 team in the league because they aren't getting steamrolled. They aren't getting stomped. They're having close games, but like Jack said, they just don't know who to give the ball to close the game out. And in a sense, I don't think changing Vandy in 6:30 really solves the issues for this team. Like 6:30 is a much better shooting guard than Vandy is, primarily because 6:30 just played the game. Vandy didn't really play the game, and he doesn't play with confidence. And anybody who knows Vandini knows he's primarily on confidence, but that's kind of point guard. If you're coming from a former point guard who's played good and bad in the league, if you don't have confidence while bringing that ball up, you're going to be shit. You're going to be useless. You're going to hinder your team. You won't be good at the game. And Vandy, he just doesn't give me that confidence that I've seen from him at times. Like when I matched up with him in the league in season 3, he had 45. I mean, of course, our defense was abysmal, and I had 37, but like he had 45. He played with confidence. He got his spots. He did what he's supposed to do. He doesn't play like that now. He plays like, okay, if I fuck up a couple times, I have to give the MVP the ball. If that's the point, get off a point guard. Find a way as a point guard to work with 6:30 because he can do everything. He's not just a shooting guard that needs the ball. He's a combo guard that can do it all. Put him in good spots like Jack used to put B-Rich in. 2 steps, plays, raps. Like he can do all kind of things to make his job easier and get in a better flow to open him up. But he's not doing that. He looks like he's playing on his toes. And if he messes up a little bit, come get it, 6:30. That won't be how they win. So it's not time to panic right now. Vandy just has to get his head on straight and just come to play.
Yeah, definitely. All right, well, guys, this is all for Pacers Gaming that we're going to touch on. The next team we're going to talk about real quick is Grizz Gaming. So, Grizz Gaming, I think a lot of people expected this, really. I feel like every person just basically didn't believe in this team coming into the season. I personally didn't believe in this team coming into the season. They are now 0-3. As a team, they just look horrendous. They moved J-Rod off a lock, and they had Spartan on lock at one point. But, this team just... They came out, they did what we thought they would do. And, like Lang Whitaker would say, if you know, you know. He was very confident that J-Rod was going to be the guy, and especially playing the lockdown position. It just... The Grizz did not look good at all. There was no real light in them. I mean, hopefully they might have something in 3v3. We'll see. But I kind of want to get your thoughts. I'll start with Ye on this one. Ye, what's your thoughts on Grizz Gaming so far?
I think they're in a tough situation just because We saw everybody kind of saw it right away when they moved Spartan off of the power forward to play lock. After we saw a whole article about getting J Rod to play lock, so it's a big question mark with them. I don't know if they're focusing on 3v3, but even 3v3, I don't know how that team is going to look. So like up and down, it just doesn't look great. And as soon as they started playing, we kind of like tune out of their games and go watch another one too. So I think no one's really watching the Grizzlies close enough to really see what the real issue is. But from the naked eye, it just doesn't look good up and down.
Well, I'll tell you what the problem is. And I'll be honest with you. It's one, BP has not been showing up at all. Like, BP has not looked like BP. Like, again, I feel like that BP from Season 2 was the best BP we're ever going to get. Because at this point, I don't know, man. He's been shooting very bad. He's just been very streaky. And when you're moving one of your best players off of his main position, I also don't think that helps either. But I mean, I just think with this Grizz team, again, they're 0-2. Sorry, correction. They're not 0-3. They're 0-2. But they're likely not going to make it out of their group at this point. But Jack, Grizz Gaming. Is there any surprises, anything with this team that, you just were like, maybe they have hope? Like, what is your thoughts on this team overall?
Yeah, I didn't really understand the plan coming in, honestly, but I guess to each their own. I think what they should do is put their two best players, I think J Money and I guess BP's got to play the 1, but J Money to the 5. I think what's his name? I think AA should go to lock. AA was solid at lock when he used to play it. Mm-hmm. I think Sparta should go to 4, J Rod at sharp with BP because Sharp's not really going to see it that much anyway. I didn't really know what the plan was. I honestly didn't really see that team play. What I imagine is they were just probably disorganized and there's like I said with all these teams, if there's not an identity, it's tough to close games. It's like when the tough gets going, it's a lot of these teams kind of crumble because there's nothing. They don't know what to resort to. There's not enough. There's not enough backbone, I guess you could say. Especially for these newer teams. I think Grizz Gaming is the epitome of a team that lacks a backbone.
Yeah. Hey, I mean, listen, I agree with you on that one, too. I just think this team, when you come in with expectations and you have to prove people wrong, like, everyone's expecting this team to be wrong. Like, what is going on? What do you think was going on in that locker room? Like, do you think that, the expectation, in scrims, they knew they were going to come out and be like this? Or was there some type of hope, coming into the season that things will work out once we get to the real games? What do you think that, was going through their heads before this tournament even started during scrims, Jack?
Man, I don't know. I think everybody looks at the game differently. I would hope that it's interesting. I think a lot of teams go through scrims and they win, or they lose, they lose. And if they win 50% of the games, they're kind of thinking they're going to have a 50% chance of winning when the game starts. But like I said, I think if you're not organized and you don't have the ability to beyond just game planning, actually execute a game plan through what you practice. There's one thing to know what to do, and then there's another thing to know how to do it. I have a feeling they weren't practicing the second part of that. But I really don't know. That's just total speculation. But if they were confident going in, I think that's what it would come from. Being 50-50 or whatever it was in scrims, because the execution component of game planning doesn't really get amplified in scrimmages.
All right. Yeah. Not Jack. JT, what is your thoughts on this Grizz Gaming team?
Kind of to piggyback off what Jack said, it's still current. I don't see the point in the roster. I don't see the direction they took. Number one, they have AA, who, from what I know, didn't touch retail. Then you have J-Rod, who didn't touch retail. Then you have Spartan, who plays center well in Vegas and after that in retail. Then you have 2 point guards who are used to having the ball a lot. So it's just this whole how this whole team was formed, it doesn't really make sense. You know, like BP leads the league in assists, but he also leads the damn league in turnovers. So it doesn't even matter. But it's like they just are, in a sense, they don't have an identity because they don't make sense. When things don't make sense, it's hard to make it make sense. That's life. It's hard to make a lot of things make sense when they're not supposed to. And I never even thought about that lineup, but the lineup Jack said might be their best hope. J-Rod has always been a top sharp. He can shoot the damn ball. So put him on the hash. You know, he can dex, he can do all that. Give BP the ability to take the air out the ball. J Money has the IQ, has the stick to play big. Spartan, same with the power forward. He can easily lock up, pick and roll. And then at lock, you know, he's mid-tier. You know, he's whatever. But at least everybody else can be good at their position. And that would be like, thinking about it, what Jack said, that should really be their lineup. And if that doesn't become their lineup, if their lineup stays with Spartan at lock, I don't think they get much better than they're like a 10-point loss team right now, which isn't even bottom 3 in the damn league, which is better than what everybody else expected. Mm-hmm. So they're still not good or decent, but they're definitely not the floor mat like everybody was saying they are in scrims. But until they figure out an identity, they'll have nothing going forward, because right now their lineup doesn't even make sense. And if your lineup doesn't make sense, it's almost like when I had Ramo at point guard. That lineup made no damn sense. So we lost every damn game. Your lineup don't make sense. Good luck winning.
So, really, really critical question here. Is this possibly the last season for BP and J Money if they don't perform this year? This goes to you, JT.
Yeah, I figured. Possibly. The only reason I'll say no, because the funnest fact about everything league entailed that people never put into perspective, situation matters. I don't care who you are. Situation matters. If you're on a bad team, in a bad environment, you're most likely going to play bad too or get a lot of the blame. So, I don't think this is a good situation for BP, hence if this lineup stays the exact same. This lineup is terrible. It's dog shit.
So, but here's my thing though, JT. We talk about the situation not being for good for BP, and I agree, but this is the third time. You know what I mean? You can only say that so many times until it's okay, the Hawks didn't work out. The Kings was his only bright light in his career so far. I mean, he did have, he had a 500 team in Atlanta, but it's the excuse there was it just wasn't a good situation for him, and that's why he got moved. It's at what point do we just kind of hold him responsible compared to the others, or has he just always been in bad situations?
How does a situation get created? Situation, I think environment is a better word, but who creates the situation? Who creates the environment?
I mean, he obviously had to be open to going to this team. They definitely interviewed him.
Right, I think he was just trying to get back into the league above anything. But I'm saying, if just looking at it beyond an individual, who creates the environment? Do you think that it's a respect thing between the guys? Is it the coaching? Is it the org? Why do some teams consistently have a more structured and effectively better team every single year than others?
Yeah, I mean, it's leadership, and depending on who has control.
Okay, but who's the leader? Where does that leadership come from?
I think it's higher ups, and that's coming from, I was on the same org as you on the Wizards, and then went to the Pistons. Not saying their higher ups weren't, really into it, but after higher ups, it does become players. It does become is that respect factor there? Do they like you in a sense? Because sometimes, which is sad, you're in the league and dudes don't like you. They don't even want to listen to you. They're just unprofessional. It's a lot of dudes in the league right now that are unprofessional, toxic, but they get away with it because they're good guys in public. They're good guys in the public eye on some fake phony shit. But no, it's G shit, and I ain't gonna say names on nobody until the season's over because I don't want to hold nobody. But when the season's over, you can spin back. I'll say names gladly because what the fuck will happen? Who gonna fight me or something? Stop it. But it's just like that's my point. It's like with BP, I feel like a lot of shit he could have made better. But I feel like this is his first season to where like even hearing him in the offseason and hearing how like he doesn't run towards drama and altercations, I feel like he's finally growing. Like the Kings, he did kind of mess that up. Hawks was a bad team. This is a bad team. Kings was a great team, but BP was still a kid. And I mean, it's not no excuse, but I feel like this is that year that I can actually see BP is different. Like he handles people yelling at him differently. He's not always trying to argue. Like he's more receptive to criticism. Like I'm not saying it's never his fault because at the end of the day, you play a part in every situation you're in. It could be as bad as you want it to be, but if you're not taking a high road and you're deep diving right into it with the clowns, you're no better than the clowns you're bitching about.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree, but. We'll stop talking about this Grizz team. I think that JT, you brought up some great points. Jack, of course, and Yay. We'll do two more. We'll touch base on a couple more teams, and then we're going to move on. Next team is Lakers Gaming. So Lakers Gaming, again, they already have 2 wins. This team as a franchise collectively ever has 9 wins total. They are already, they only need 7 more wins, and they break their record for their franchise ever. JT. Your thoughts on Lakers Gaming? Are they gonna pass their franchise wins record of all time?
I think so. I think they're a team that their future's bright. I feel like they have a backcourt that my biggest worry because I played them probably 3 times in the last 2 weeks before the draft. Beat them all 3 times, with their exact 5 they have now. But my biggest worry was, will Reg use Reese how he's supposed to? Reese is too good at this point not to use. Like, you have to know how to... The only shooting guard who I would even say is probably better than him is Kai. So it's like, if you don't know how to use him, that's a problem. But he's using him. He's using them well. He's not being ball hog. He's not really tunnel vision. Like, he's using his team. And the biggest, question mark was Tac Tuck. But it's like, Tac Tuck's one dude. Tac Tuck is still serviceable. So if you give him a bunch of dudes who play defense, who knows? He can become better than what he's ever been. So I just think this team has been surprising to most, but not to me because of just what I know Reese and all of them can do. So it's just like this team, I think their future is bright for now because teams will start to adjust and pick up those things, but it's still early. They're 2-0. Like, I'm not surprised they're 2-0. But again, they're 2-0. They still have 3 more games to go. They still have bracket play to go if they make it out. 2-0 doesn't mean you make it out. They're in a hell group. So it's like it's too early to just really give them all the praise in the world. But what they're doing now, I think they'll pass 9 wins all time, which is just downright pathetic, by the way. But it is what it is. Proceed.
Jack, your thoughts on this Lakers Gaming team, and then I'll go quick to Yay on this one.
Yeah, I think they have the pieces. I think it comes down to Reg. And like if, like JT said, if he could run an efficient offense, which I think part of that is playing through Reese a little bit. I think, they have a good center. Obviously, like, shooting guard, point guard combo is good center. And then Tactic and Green are solid.
Mm-hmm.
I just think like you can't really have lapses because I think like they're in a tough conference. I don't think they're good enough to just dig themselves out of a hole. I think if they keep this momentum, they're in a good spot. But like they just got to be like a high octane team that just keeps getting better. I think like the biggest concern for the Lakers team is they just get complacent because they're like content that they were better than the last 4 years, which is like the opposite direction you want to go, obviously, when the teams that know what they're doing are going to continue to adjust and get better. every week. It's like, you always got to. And I'm not saying the Lakers won't do that. I'm saying that's like the only volatile point I see with them outside of just like, them not. They just can't. They got to control their lows, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Yay! What's your final thoughts on this Lakers team?
Yeah, I think it's obvious to say that this is a better team than what we've seen in the past. The first two wins were I wouldn't say super impressive, but they did beat the Pistons, where we've kind of given them their kudos in terms of like how they formed the team. But Pistons haven't really shown us something yet. But looking forward, they'll be tested this week. They have the Jazz, they have the Blazers, and I believe they have the Timberwolves as well. So, like JT said, they're in like the team. They're in like the group of death, and I think if they come up with one of those wins, we'll see them in Indy. We'll play in Indy in person, but they haven't really shown us enough yet. But having Nacho come over there, keeping Reese, bringing Reg over there, I think it's nothing but up from the previous seasons. But they still have a lot to show us in terms of how they're going to fight amongst like the other top teams in the league.
Mm-hmm. No, I definitely agree. I mean, I think this Lakers team, to answer the first question, yes, I think they're going to break their all-time record of wins as a franchise, which I agree with JT. That's terrible. That's kind of just embarrassing, honestly, the fact that they can do that in one season, breaking their all-time wins. But I want to jump to the next team. The next team that we're going to be talking about is going to be Cavs Legion, and this team obviously is missing Bash. This is just, again, this is a situation where I don't think it was going to be good regardless. I mean, I know some people talk about that, Bash would have been different. Like, and again, listen, Seldom did not play well, but, we talk about situation scenarios. Obviously, with this team, it's kind of just like, the excuse is they don't have their guard, right? JT, what's your thoughts on, like, first of all, everyone being hard on Seldom, the whole situation, like people were coming down on him so hard, kind of just blaming him and saying it's his fault and just being really critical on him. What's your thoughts on that? And was this just expected anyway, regardless if Bash was there? Like, what is your thoughts on this Cavs team?
No, I actually thought with Bash they would have been a pretty solid team. Definitely not 0-2 to start, but maybe so. Like they have, or 0-3, whatever they are. Mm-hmm. They have, I think 0-2, but they still have time to turn things around. As far as the whole blaming Seldom, welcome to point guard. You don't like it, don't play it. Like there's no team in the league to where you lose to where it's the point guard isn't blamed. Welcome to point guard. So like, oh, you're hard on him. I mean, it's what he signed up for. Yeah. Did he have as much time to get acclimated with the build as other guards? Not at all. Not at all. But at the end of the day, it's what he signed up for. He took that replacement job. He could have said no. He could have said, I had things to do in my life. He could have not wanted that setup mission. Now, is it, will people clown him for it? Yeah, but everybody seems to be giving him a pass. So it doesn't even matter at this point, from what it's seeming, if he went 0-5, because all the GMs and coaches and players are like, oh, he didn't get the ample time to play the damn game. But let's be honest, Seldom in retail wasn't no glitchy ass point guard. He was a point guard that kind of knows how to control the game at extents and is not afraid to use his shooting guard. So it's like he played teams that just made him actually make a play, made him actually score. That matters. Like he never, in my opinion, just truly he doesn't put that fear factor in a team when it comes to him bringing the ball up court, making a play, scoring the ball, things of those sorts. So I don't feel bad that they're blaming him. What I just told people is stop singling him out. Stop making him seem like he's the only point guard playing bad in the damn league. Give everybody else the same
energy.
Yeah, I know it firsthand. I know contingent on your name, you get different type of criticism, which is wrong, which is whack to me. That's all. But him getting slack for it, man, Seldom talks as much as anybody. So, and then even before game 2, he said, hey, man, comeback game, keep that same energy. All he did was turn down his damn turnovers. He didn't do shit different. Yeah. So it's just like, like you gotta understand when you talk it's going to always come worse. And Seldom has always been talking because he doesn't know how to ignore people. At some point, you have to learn how to just weed out certain clowns. Certain people aren't worth talking to. And then, funniest part is some of the people taking up for him now clown him all damn retail. But now, some of the people who want to take up for him, who are in the league now, oh, he didn't get this, that, and the third. They clown him all damn retail. Nah, keep that same energy. Like, make him get better at the game. Like, make him understand that he has to actually deliver or at least be decent. Be a floor general. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't score 20, but be a floor general. Get your team involved. Get Jaden involved, who's a really good shooting guard. Cut down on your TOs. Take efficient open shots. Like, run an effective offense. Play to your strengths if you have to. JBM wasn't never the top damn scoring dude of the league, but his patience was second to none. He could pick any defense he's seen apart because he always kept his composure. He knew how to pass. He knew how to read the court, his IQ. He played to his strengths. That's what made the Wizards what they were. In the league, if you don't play to your strengths, you're going to falter. So will your team. So Seldom, he has to play to his strengths, whatever they are. I don't know. He knows them, though. So whatever he thinks are his strengths, he needs to work that into his offense and see what they can do. They're only 0-2. They can still make it out. They could win 3 in a row. But, will that happen? Who knows? But they can. Nobody in here can say they can't. So it's up to him, to be honest.
Yeah. How much does, just a quick question, how much does this affect his draft stock coming into next year? Does this completely change everything for him? Does this possibly put him in, like, a category where he goes undrafted because of this, like, in, like, a future season? Like, how much does it impact this, JT? Like, his future?
It should have 0. This is a new build. Like, next year will be a new build. He wasn't drafted. Like, I agree. He didn't have an amount of time to get acclimated with the game, but it doesn't matter. Next year is a whole new game. We've seen dudes year in, year out be a dog one year and literally dog shit the next. So judging him off a past year and his past is BS to me. So hopefully this doesn't have any kind of impact on his draft stock because it's not even for real, a true opportunity. It's just a replacement job that, is unfair in instances, but he took it.
Yeah, but Cook stepped into a role kind of like, an interesting role, and he performed, and again, he did well in retail, but I felt like that kind of benefited him getting into the top, into a lottery pick. So, like, what's the difference between Cook's situation and Seldom's situation? Like, is it just because Seldom came in last minute, so it's different, or like, what's the difference between the two?
Two reasons. Cooks had way more time, and he did come in with a much bigger time to get acclimated with the game. And Cooks was a shooting guard. Cooks didn't come in and play point guard. Cooks came in to play shooting guard for Radiant, one of the best PGs in the league when he's in his bag. So it's like it can help him, yeah, in a sense, but it's like I don't know. I just think it's too early for it to hurt him when half of the league's PGs right now look rough. Like, I'll drop it soon. I'm doing all stats for all positions, kind of like what Harris does, but I'll make it public. Like Harris, he doesn't really share his, so I want to do all the stats to where the public can see, what every point guard shoots and averages and things of those sorts. Like, a lot of PGs are lackluster right now. It's not just him. So it's like, if it hurts his stock when half of the league's guards aren't doing nothing right now, that's bad to me. He's not just the only 1 or 2 dudes being the damn Ohio of the league. Oh. You know what I'm saying? He's not doing that.
I mean, dude, there's a lot of people that have been thinking of that. I mean, yeah, I'm just going to bring up a couple examples because I do agree with JT. I mean, you got guys like Duck shooting 18% from 3. You got Tate shooting 30%. Radiant's actually shooting pretty bad too. Like, there's a lot of people in this league that are shooting bad. There's a lot of PGs that are turning over the ball. Like, Radiant has 5 turnovers a game, but he has 4. He is the number 1 in assists. But there's a lot of stats going on. And again, it's not all stats. It is eye test. But from what I'm being told, even Splash came on the Spaces the other day and just said, if a PG, is having a good year, you need to give them their credit because it is pretty hard this year to play PG. It's all about the shooting guard kind of in a way. So it's really key. And that's the thing about it. We talk about 630 going on the PG build, but is that the best solution too? just because like if the PG builds aren't that good and it's all about shooting guard, do you keep your best player on shooting guard this year? And that's kind of just a collective question. I'll go to you, Jit, first. JT, do you like with the way the build is? If PGs are all struggling like this, do you keep your best player on the shooting guard position?
No, because if you don't have a point guard, I feel like a game will always come down to a point guard. Like, even if that is the easier position, the best teams will have a point guard that figures it out along with a shooting guard that can do his job. So it's like to just say, oh, keep my best player at the easier position. If it's easier, then that, in my opinion, it makes perfect sense to put a less skilled player there and just let him do it because he should be able to do it. And then tell your PG to figure it out because we have seen some PGs move. It's possible. It's just if you do it or not. But it's possible. So if it was impossible, maybe move them, but it's not. We've seen some PGs move nice already, like Dre. Dre's averaging like 27 and 10. Averaging 2 TOs a game, 60% from the field, 51% from three. That's through 3 games. So clearly it's possible, but do you have to stick?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, yeah, you bring up good points. Jack, what's your thoughts on this Cavs team? Thoughts on Seldon's situation? Is he getting the fair, is the treatment that he's getting, is it fair? And how does it impact his future getting into the league?
I think it's super tough for him because obviously he didn't have much time to get ready. And like that, I really mean that. I think like half the battle is having the 4 other guys be as good as you need them to be. It's like, you're one player. Obviously, it's a team, and like I feel like a good point guard is making their team better. Throughout that first month of getting ready. I don't know when he got settled with the team. It's also like, not playing next to them is like there's a little bit of it's hard to come back from that, like getting down early. And I think like the fact that he was talking before and talking in between games at least makes him feel accountable, or he's holding himself accountable publicly. And I think that's half the battle. I think some people can't even hold themselves accountable within their own locker room, let alone on Twitter, like, calling out a bounce back game. So I think that's a really good sign. I don't think he got a fair chance. I think he should be in the league. I think he's better than a couple point guards in the league, and we'll see. We'll see. I hope he gets in next year. I hope he can show out, but I think he's getting the short end of the stick for sure. I think the Cavs will be definitely better with Bash, though. I think obviously Bash is way more league ready. He's shown it. He's proved it, and I think that team will buy in a little more, and they'll be ready to go when he gets to market.
Definitely. Yay. Final thoughts on this Cavs.
I gotta hop off the champ. I appreciate it.
No, appreciate you coming on, man. Appreciate it.
Peace out, Jack. What you saying, champ?
Final thoughts on this Cavs team, and then we're going to move on to the Kings.
I think Seldon's in a tough situation. I think he don't have the amount of pieces that he would like to have, but at the same time, this is like this one chance to kind of show out. It's kind of had a rough start. I kind of thought when they drafted Fakey that Fakey was going to play center and they were going to move D-Law back to the 4, but they both were kind of playing center in pre-draft, so I guess you get what you get there. And I was also surprised they brought back Rim. So I think if they bring back Bash when he gets back, I think they'll look a little bit better. Seldon's not really much of a scorer, so he's not going to demand a lot of attention from the players guarding off ball. So they're gonna make Seldon beat him in the pick and roll. So everybody's going to stay home. They're going to make Seldon score the ball, which is why that team's been very successful playing against them. They only put up 43 points against the T-Wolves, 60 against the Lakers, and T-Wolves beat them by 40. So Seldon's going to have to get a little more aggressive, start taking some of those tough shots. I think he's being a little more passive in terms of like finding shots for himself. He's trying to get everybody involved, but it kind of starts with him getting the bucket first and then looking outward.
Mm-hmm. No. I definitely agree. I hope that Seldon gets I hope people don't hold this against him coming into the league. I mean, I think that he has a lot of potential to be good. I do think that, now he has this. I don't know if he'll be playing next week. I don't know when Bash comes back, but if he does, if they do play next week, and he does not play well, I do think we start to kind of be like, all right, well, you got to cut. You got more time to play on the game. You should improve. Like, if we don't see improvements, then I think that's when kind of the concerns come. I don't think it's a fair estimate to kind of hold it against them. If it's not, I don't think it's a fair estimate to hold it against seldom, like for this season, for future seasons, in my opinion. But we'll see how it goes. But next up, I kind of actually want to, instead of going to the Kings, I want to talk about Duke's Gaming because I totally forgot this situation for Duke's Gaming. So, if you guys don't know, obviously Mario hasn't flown in yet. They're still working on trying to get him into the country. But he had Polo step in for him, and Polo, in a sense, and I mean, and I quote, this guy's been undeniable. So far, Polo, I mean, it seems like Duke's Gaming shouldn't even have Mario come over in a way. I think Mario has the right to come over, obviously, because it's his league spot, But what's your guys' thoughts on this whole situation with Polo obviously going off? He's stepped in and been one of the best sub-in players so far. What's the expectation once Polo leaves his team? Does Duke's Gaming get worse, or are they better than that? And also with Polo, what's the future for Polo looking like? And I'll start with JT.
I feel like he's showing reasons why he should have been in the league, but I feel like the biggest reason why is because it was only 2 center spots, bro. And Polo doesn't have really any film to my knowledge at the 4. So it's like, do you just draft a center that you know is good to play the 4? I mean, you can, or you can just take players that you've seen do what you're drafting them to do. But I feel like he's definitely showing that he belongs. He's definitely making the most of his opportunity. He's making a team that was the laughing stock that people thought would be just egregious, and now they're good, So it's like you have to tip your hat to him. You have to just give credit when it's due, which it is. He's dogging. He's doing his thing. He's holding his own against whoever he goes against. And I don't think that will change. And I feel like people will see the effect he has once they do get Mario into the country and they have to switch. You'll see the impact he really had.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I definitely think that there'll be a huge impact once they do switch it. Once they do get him into the country, I mean, there's definitely going to be quite an adjustment as well for this team because they've been used to running with Polo, and Polo's game is going to be a lot different compared to Mario. How much? And I'm going to direct this at you, Ye. So if you're in this situation and Polo's been going off, what does this do to this team once Mario comes back? Do they get better or worse?
I definitely think it does put a ton of pressure on Mario once he gets back. Because one, we haven't seen a lot of him over the course of pre-draft, and he's kind of stepped into some big shoes, which is crazy to say from a rookie having a big impact right away. But the plus side of it, I think he does have solid pieces around him with great experience. Has somebody like Seam who's playing really good, smart, efficient basketball at point guard for his first time playing point guard. Achilles, he had a switch where he can kind of turn on and get a bucket himself. And then Beavis is a great person to have in the front court. If you have been watching the game, a lot of Polo success has come from the help from Beavis getting able to get an early box out before the center can get a good spot in the paint, giving Polo easy rebounding opportunity. Those crash ins where somebody has to put a body on Beavis, now Polo gets the board. So a lot of success comes from that too as well, which might translate to Mario getting back. So we really never know until the game is played.
Mm-hmm. No, I definitely think this is a tough situation for this team because making the decision, letting go of Polo after what he did. Polo at this point, in my opinion, is just making himself be a top 10 pick next year. After the performance he's had so far, I don't see a reason why a team that needs a center does not select him in the top 10 next year. I know it'll be a different game, and that's for a lot. The season 6 draft is really far away. We're just starting this year, but this definitely is going to impact Polo into getting drafted next year. Just because I just don't know how franchises miss this though. What's your thoughts on the fact that Polo was undrafted, and now he steps in the league as a sub, and he's looking better than some like a lot of league centers. I mean, I kind of want to ask JT that. Like, is it just like what? Why did he get so overlooked? Like, why did he go undrafted? Was it just because of the limitation of the position? Like, what's going on? Yay. What's your thought? Like, what's your,
Oh, my fault.
It's okay.
Mike was on mute. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Mike was on mute. My
It's all
fault.
good. It's all good.
I've been doing it all day, but I just finally messed up. To be honest, it's just it's just limitations. Like it's not many spots. And this year, people don't understand. Stick seal mattered, but it was primarily about fit. Like, was it 15 power forwards, in my opinion, better than me? Hell no. But it was just dudes that people think fit their org. But like, look at the Heat. Like, I do think Saucy is a dog, but nobody had him getting picked as a center. People had him maybe getting picked as a power forward, but for it to only be 3 bigs who were taken, and that was one of them. Like, he's very underrated, very good. So it's like he deserves it, but it's just like that was a random pick in an instance. So it's just like he was just overlooked because of limited availability. It's not his stick. It's not how he plays. Like, anybody with eyes knows he's one of the best bigs in that pool. Anybody with eyes. Like, it's hard to say he's not, but it's just at that point, a lot of people kind of do the same thing. Like, they're elite, they're all good, but who fits the org the way I need them to fit my org? That played a big part into the draft this year.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Instead of doing the other topics of stock watch and bench, I think we're just going to cover the teams instead. So I'm actually going to scratch those topics off, guys, and we're going to cover all the. We're just going to talk. We're going to kind of touch base on these teams instead. I think that's a better way to go instead of doing these little segments. So the next team I want to talk about is going to be Kingsguard Gaming. Kingsguard Gaming, again, another team that we had high expectations. It was the battle of the 0-2s when we saw the Pacers versus the Kings, and that game was kind of like a do or die kind of game, in my opinion. So the fact that the Kings won that game, it really kind of changed like our thoughts on that team. Like, I felt like we looked at this team like, oh, here we go, Kingsguard Gaming here, like once again, going below our expectations. So, yay. What's your thoughts on this Kingsguard Gaming team? Is the Freak Show back? Like, after that Pacers game, is that going to kind of like shoot them up to the moon after that game? Like, what's your thoughts on this Kingsguard team right now?
I was like, let me choose my words very carefully. You don't want Mama storming the Discord again, talking shit to you. But we got JT. We got JT here as a security guard, so it's good. But I think the Kings team really kind of pulled it together against the Pacers, like flooding them out the gate. Mama got on Spaces and talked about how he was kind of delayed, or he was going through lag, or some was happening on their end of the sticks, and then they came in with the Pacers. They had all the lights off, and everybody seemed locked in. Walnut looked really good. If they continue to play like that, I think it's only up from here. I think it's too early to say that they're a disappointment. I know they had a kind of rough start, but maybe that was the kind of push they needed against the Pacers to kind of kick off from there.
Yeah. No. I definitely think that game was huge. I mean, that's the difference between getting out of your group and not getting out of your group that game. Because if you fall to 0-3, I don't even know statistically. I know Harris probably would have the numbers on this. I don't know how it would work for you to have 3 losses to get out of your group. It would have to be some crazy scenario, regardless. And at this point, if you got blown out like how the Pacers kind of did in that game, it's probably 0 to none that should make it out of your group. But this Kings team, I mean, they came out, they had close games. It's not like they didn't have, 2 close games at all, but it's just like they haven't lived up to expectations. They played the Warriors, which again, we have to remember that group that the Kings are in is literally the group of death. Like, I say this a lot. It's literally one of the hardest groups out there. And like, we might judge these teams right now and be like, man, like they suck, but it's like they're playing the best teams in the league. Like, and that Western Conference overall is just a gulag in itself. So it's kind of tough to judge, and that's kind of like with going back to the Pacers. It's tough to judge the Pacers because they're in a really hard group. But JT, what's your thoughts on this this Kingsguard gaming team situation right now? Did this Pacers game completely flip the script for them, and are they finally coming out of their shell? Is Mama finally looking like the former MVP Mama, or is this just a smokescreen?
Won't call it a smoke screen. Won't say he's back. I was told a lot growing up. The light has to shine on a dog's ass sometime. So, in a sense, is he back? No. Are they back? No. Will they be as? I don't know. Like, it's one game. They're 1-2. You don't win one game and get. It's almost like what Dave Fry said when they won. You don't applaud a damn fish for swimming.
Mm-hmm.
They're expected to win. So winning one game, I'm not saying they're back off one game. Like they have 2 more games to go because they can easily win that one game against the Pacers and go 1-4, and the Pacers could go like 1-4. And then what did they do? Beat a damn 1-4 team?
Yeah.
Like they have to do more. That's my one word, more. Which I still think they'll be a better team than they are now. Because hey, I'm not going to cap. I had them coming out that conference, so I look about as dumb as the rest of them. I look about as dumb as them.
Yeah, I mean,
go ahead.
No, I think a lot of people though had them coming out of that group. It's not. I don't think. I think that they have just far underplayed. Again, dropping that game to the Mavs, and I love the Mavs. I think the Mavs, they looked good, but that game they dropped to the Mavs, that's something where it was just piss poor. If you watch the game, I think Zay played great out of his mind. But at the same time, you have a team like full of superstars on this Kings team. Well, I don't want to say, I guess, yeah, superstars. Basically, all-star level players all around the roster, and you're not showing up against these lower tier teams. It's kind of a concern. But keep going, JT, about the Kings.
Yeah, so it's just like they're 1-2. I do think they'll still be a team that figures it out. Will they figure it out in time to make it out of that group? I mean, let's see what their records are really fast on everybody in that group.
Yeah, so right now the Pacers are 0-3. The Dukes Gaming is 2-0.
Warriors are 3-0.
Mavs Gaming is, I'm pretty sure, 1-1. Yeah, 1-1.
They are.
Mavs Gaming is 1-1. Warriors are 3-0. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, they are. And the Bucks are 1-2. Okay, so 3-0. 2-0, 1-1, 1-2, and then them who's 1-2. So
they play the Bucks. So if they beat the Bucks, they're in, because the Bucks will drop 3 games. So I don't know when they play the Bucks, but if the Bucks lose to the Kings, they essentially are over. They're over the Pacers and the Bucks. So that's all they have to do. If they beat the Bucks, they will be in the tournament. I mean, they'll be in the bracket.
So they have time to figure things out. It's just like I've always said, the too early assessments have to stop. Give every team 5 games. Give every player 5 games. Like, give people the ample time. Like, 1 game doesn't make a team, 2 games don't, 3 games don't. It takes all 5 games, because it's a big difference between if you leave this tourney with no points and with 2 points, because it's a point system. You only have a couple tourneys to play this thing. So if you leave with no points, that's panic time. That means what you're doing is not working. It's no way you have an excuse for 5 damn games. Yeah. But having an excuse for 1 or 2, maybe, but 0-5, something has to change. Something's not clicking. Like Jack could say, no way you went 0-5 in this tourney and you in practice kicking ass. It's just not possible. Something went wrong. Something's been going wrong that y'all haven't stepped up and solved.
Yeah. No, this Kings team, it seems like they came in very confident. I think a lot of people were very confident that they would be a lot better. Again, they came out slow. I don't think we've seen the best possible Kings team yet. I think they had a good game against the Pacers, which was kind of like a confidence booster for them, because I think this team and it's not just, I guess I can't say it's just this team, but it's any team. When you win those type of games, and in the fashion they won it in, they blew them out. So it really kind of boosts their confidence and could really help them when it comes to playing these other teams. Like on Thursday is when they play the Bucks. So just for those who are wondering, that's probably going to be the game deciding game. Like that's probably going to be the deciding game whether or not they secure their spot, because that'll be the automatic. Like it doesn't matter what the record of Bucks or Pacers is, because they'll have the 3 losses and they'll have tiebreaker over those 2 teams no matter what. So Thursday at 8:15 on Bounce Pass Thursday, 8:15. That's going to be the game to watch, because that game's going to kind of decide whether or not the Kings are in or out, possibly. So definitely an interesting game. But moving on from this Kings team, though, any final thoughts about the Kings before we move on, guys? Anything?
Hey, buy Mama stock on the dip.
Buy it on the
All
dip.
I gotta say, buy on the dip.
Buy it on the dip. Nah. I think this team, it's kind of just like the expectations are high. Again, the stocks are low right now, so like Ye said, buy those mama stocks, because they're pretty cheap right now. But next week they might be up in price. Today's price is not yesterday's price is not today's price, right? As they would say. But we're gonna move on. Next team we're gonna talk about is Blazer 5 Gaming. This is now this Blazer 5 Gaming team. It's interesting, because it's like it's a team that we kind of had some expectations. Again, they have really good defensive players, but their backcourt is their problem. So if you guys don't know, it was really looking like Bucket was struggling at the PG position, and Unguardable was taking the bigger scoring load. Unguardable looks great out there. I honestly, if I was to make a future prediction, this is going to be Unguardable's team. That is their true point guard. I think the Bucket pick was not necessarily a terrible pick, but it was in the first round. I don't think they should have taken him in the first round. I think that him being at the PG position is kind of hindering them in a way and holding them back. So I just think that this team needs to make some adjustments, and they could really be a good team, but they're in the West. They're in the West, man. It's tough for them. But Yay. What is your thoughts on this Blazers team?
To be honest, I do like how good Unguardable started. I think he's a big piece, big reason why they're in fighting range in these games. I think they're 0-2. I want to say.
Yeah, they're 0-2. Unguardable is number 2 in scoring right now at the shooting guard position, averaging 31.5, just behind Doc with 32.5. So he's almost the number 1 scoring shooting guard in the league at this point. So just put that in context.
Yeah, I'd be one to say I was surprised that they got Bucket at, I think 13. I think Bucket would have been there all draft. You could have saved him, got him late if you plan on getting him, and probably grab another center. But like JT said, it all comes down to fit and what works for that organization. Mm-hmm. Maybe Keith and Breds came together with like, these are the guys we want, and that's how they got the choices they made. But going forward, they're 0-2. I think for this tournament, they have a chance of going 2-1 in the next 3 games. They got to play the Cavs, who are struggling right now. Then they got the Lakers on Friday, who's a possible win. It was a 3-point game between them and the Jazz. Granted, it was their first game of the day or of the year. Splashy coming off of my team and everything, but that's still that's a good way to contend with that type of team. And then they got to play the T-Wolves, who is out here flooding cats. So I think they have a tough road for the rest of this tournament, but they do have some winnable games in there. And like we said, they're in the group of death, and it's going to have to start with Bucket stepping up and Rob looking like the king of centers.
Yeah. Oh, the king of centers. Yeah. I mean, listen, I this is what I'll say. I just want to put this also in context. Currently, Bucket is bottom. He's top 6 in turnovers per game, meaning he averages one of the highest turnovers per game at 4. He is one of the worst 3-point shooters in the league right now. He's bottom 6 in 3-point shooting in the league, so he shoots 38%. But overall, like his numbers have just not been good. I think the solution for this team is really moving Unguardable to the PG position and putting Unguardable in the shooting guard. But at the same time, it's kind of like you run to that same situation. He's got to get up his shooting. Maybe a better build will help Bucket, because I think Unguardable, it's clear how talented he is, and I was happy about that pick. That pick made so much, that's the pick that made sense. It's just I felt like when they took Bucket here, kind of just it kind of just really hurt this team, and you're kind of seeing it right now. JT, what's your thoughts on this Blazers team?
To be honest, I think there'll be a team. There'll be that mid-tier team until like the backcourt completely figures it out. But I like what I've seen so far. You know, like it's a team that lost to the Jazz by 3. And Bucket and Josh, unguardable, both showed signs of just of playing good basketball. Like Bucket against that in that Jazz game at like 19 and 11, shot over 50% at like 4 turnovers, and Josh had 26. That's why I wanted to ask you, whatever you read that said unguardable averages 31 or something like that. I don't even know how that's possible when he only had 26 against the Jazz. That's what the league. That's what the league website does.
Maybe 2K Labs has it probably wrong. Then they probably. I'll double check with them.
Like unless he scored damn near 40 against the Pistons.
Yeah,
and they lost by
you
11.
might be right. You might be right on that one because they might have. I have 2K Labs stats up. I'll have to double check with 2K Labs. It doesn't look right because Jen would probably be second in scoring. That would be my expectation for shooting guard. But I'll double check that one. I don't know exactly because I'm looking at the box scores now. Well, of course, the league doesn't have the box score for Blazers Pistons, but I'll try to get go, look at that and check on that because I definitely think that he did have 40. Which game did he? Oh, was that the restart against the Pistons? Didn't he have like he had a crazy stat line against the Pistons? I just don't remember what it was, but either way, I mean, I'm pretty sure he was up there in the high 30s when it came to that game. But,
okay. Well, again, to move on to that point. That's the whole point of what I'm gonna start doing with my stats and why my stats will be public. I'll have every stat for every position, every team.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I like what I see from that team. I think Bucket will surprise people. Mm-hmm. Like in retail, he was really good on West Coast. Like I don't think he'll be the player that I just think last year wasn't right for him.
Mm-hmm.
Like Celtics. Celtics weren't right for him, in my opinion. I feel like the Blazers will be. Josh is one of the best shooting guards in the league. I had the opportunity to play with him in pre-draft. Dude is a demon. He's a dog. So it's like that team is, a well-fit team to me. Random's is a good lock. Brett is a good power forward. He doesn't play the game, but he still finds a way to know how to play the game. So, God bless him. And then Rob, he's hungry. He felt like he got disrespected his whole career. So it's just like when it comes down to it, that team can really surprise people if they put it all together. So I think, with what they've shown me, even though they're 0-2, it's another team. It's no point to hit the panic. They aren't getting flooded. They aren't getting steamrolled. Jazz barely got out of there. Like that's something that kind of holds your head with of a team with that caliber. You have what it takes. You just got to put it together.
What do you think the impact of them being the only team? I'm pretty sure the only West Coast team that's still back in market and didn't go to Indy. How much of an impact do you think that has on their season?
I feel like it'll have a solid impact because coming from a dude that is West Coast to play West Coast willingly, I don't get it. Like that's literally 2 big bags of bounce that ass. That's terrible. Like it's no way you're telling me I'm waking up every day playing delayed. It's no way you're smiling in my face and saying that's the right call. That call sounds egregious, but maybe from a money standpoint, from a content standpoint, from an org standpoint, they stayed in Portland. Hopefully that's worth it. Yeah. But to put your players at a disadvantage when it wasn't even a reason to, especially from what I know, teams that are in Indy stay in Indy cost free.
Mm-hmm.
So to pass up cost free, I just hope it was worth it. I hope it makes sense because to make a team play West Coast and be the only West Coast, because it used to be like 6 of them. So cool, it's more than one team going through hell.
Yeah.
Now they're in hell by themselves. And they say misery loves company, but they ain't got none right now.
Damn.
Yeah, that's crazy, bro. That is wild. Moving on, because that's crazy, dude. They're in hell by themselves. Jesus Christ. Moving on to the next team. We're gonna talk about Magic Gaming, the most average franchise in 2K League history. What's your guys' thoughts on this Magic Gaming team? Again, Cap didn't look too good in the first game. Came out he looked solid in the first game. Came out okay in the second. Snubby started out his first game like 1 for 9. Second game wasn't really that. It was a little better, but not that great. What's your guys' thoughts on this team? Should Maddie be at PG or should he keep with Cap? Like, what's going on? Like, what's your thoughts overall? And I want to start with Ye on this team because I feel like I'm all over the place with this team.
I mean, it's kind of a tough spot too. They're not really scoring the ball. They haven't even reached 60 points yet in either of the games against the Raptors or the Knicks. I mean, they were able to keep it close with the Knicks, but the Knicks aren't scoring the ball either. So, not really much to say there. Also, really surprised that they drafted Maddie to run the lock. I thought Snubby was going to move over the lock, especially with Snubby not playing the game. But, Snubby's like one of those guys. He just kind of picks up whatever, and he's good. But it's not good enough to carry a scoring load for a team like the Magic. There could be some chemistry issues, like guys are playing weird positions. May is at the 4, never thought he'd ever play the 4. I mean, I guess with me in the center is possible, but I just never seen him there. And then Maddie moving a lock, same difference. And drafting like a Cap, which I think Cap should have been left out of the draft and just waited another year, and he would have been ready for the league next year. But Jonah saw something in those guys. So, but the main thing keeping them from winning games is putting the ball in the hole. I mean, and they're not really getting stops against the Raptors, but they let the Knicks. They kept the Knicks at 51 points.
So I'm gonna put this just to help you with context. Magic Gaming is second to last in points per game with 50.5. They are last in field goal percentage with 41%. They shoot 41%. Their 3-point percentage, they are last with 29%. And they're, again, like I said, they are dead last in a lot of categories at this point.
Yeah.
So, I mean, so far, it's not looking good for them. Again, they might be below average this year. They might not be that average Magic game. They might go way below. But they're dead last in, like, some very, very important stats overall. I wanted to give that context to you real quick.
Yeah, I think the only winnable game coming up is going to be the Grizz. I think the Hornets are sound enough where they'll beat them. Especially if the Hornets all they have to do is put up 50 points. I think Hyde is starting to kind of come into his own. His last performance was solid. And then with the way DJ and Crown are playing, they're both good too. So I think they just have more firepower. And same thing with the Nets too, with that veteran front court, bringing in Tate, who he's kind of struggled at first, but he's getting a little more confident getting into his shots. And, and Faiz is playing at like a MVP level right now. So I think Nets knock them out by like 20, 30 points. And the only winnable game is against the Grizz. I think they use this tournament as like a learning lesson. I think they go back to the drawing board. I can almost guarantee you this roster, this lineup that they have now is not going to be a lineup you see for the next tournament. But hopefully they put the guys in the right spot to start getting some W's and put the ball in the court. The ball in the hole.
What was your thoughts on their entire draft, though? Because you mentioned that you thought that Snubby would go to log and Maddie would be at one of the guard positions. I found this draft a little confusing just because it's I think that Jonah was just taking a risk on No Cap, because again there was a lot of hype around him from some certain individuals, so maybe he followed that hype. But you have 3 people on this roster who can play PG, which is great about flexibility, but I think that they're still trying to find their identity, and you bring up the point that they're still kind of getting into they're still using this tournament to kind of figure things out. But what was your thoughts about what's your thoughts about the dynamic of this roster, and is this roster one of the most tradable rosters? And what I mean by that is is this team is this one of the most likely teams to make a move later on the season just because of their flexibility?
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it, especially with the amount of. I mean, they probably only a couple assets left to trade, but I think the Rain pick was a really good pick, especially where they got him at. I think it's more of like a rebuild season. It's kind of hard to say that in the esports league, especially like the 2K league, to where they're just trying to prepare for the future. Maybe no cap. Maybe the idea was that he's not going to be the guy this year, but he can, with the hype built around him, he can kind of grow into be like somebody like Keena or somebody at that type of caliber. As a lot of the people who've been kind of playing with him in pre-draft teasing him, and it might look more long term into this instead of just looking how it is now. Because even somebody like Maddie, like we saw him play in person, and how much of and we hear good things about what the Warriors say about how impactful he is at the guard spots and how well he is at play calling. You would think, they put him at a guard spot. So it's very puzzling to see what's really happening, but that's the only thing I can really say is that maybe they're just preparing for the future in like guys like Cap and Rain to kind of take the franchise off from here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, to put them into context, I do kind of agree with that. Like, they do have a future, but at the same time, this team, I feel like they've been rebuilding for years, at the same time. But Magic Gaming does have the Pacers' first-round pick next year, just so you guys know. That is kind of a good note. If Pacers do turn out to be, if they continue down this trajectory, it could be a really good situation because they'll have 2 first rounds next year. And I mean, at this point, if they're bad and the Pacers are bad, they could possibly have 2 lottery picks coming into next year. But we'll see how that goes. JT, thoughts on this Magic Gaming team?
Thoughts on the Magic Gaming team. Let's see. Point guard 1 year too early. Shooting guard didn't touch the damn game. Power forward, hopefully he finally plays like his retail self. Center, best center in the draft pool. And their lock is the best guard on the team, but he doesn't even touch the ball on offense.
That's crazy.
I love JT, man.
So my point to what they should change, in my opinion. Stubby doesn't touch the game, so put him at lock. Maddie is their best guard, so what did we talk about earlier? Put him at shooting guard. Let him go off. Guard the top. He plays defense. He plays defense very well. That's why they have him at lock.
When do you make that
now?
Move, Maddie? Now? Like, you don't give Cap the whole tournament like everyone else is saying?
No. Leave Cap at the 1. I'm saying put Maddie at the 2.
Mm-hmm.
Put him at the 2. It gives y'all better defense because he can play defense. So he can help Snubby out. And then he can also score the ball. He scored the ball all pre-draft on West Coast. Now he's not on West Coast when he killed a lot of dudes on West Coast. And now y'all got him not even dribbling the damn ball. Yeah. At some point, we got to make some things make sense. And that shit right there doesn't make sense. They look the way they look, like I told you with the Grizzlies. The lineup doesn't make sense. So what do they look like? Mm-hmm. No fucking sense. So when you do things that line up how they're supposed to line up, it comes out well. Their results are strictly a reflection on what they put together from their lineup. It wasn't a bad draft by them. No cap. Do I think he's a year too early? Yes. But the potential he has, it's there. You just have to give him something to line the potential up with. And Snubby didn't play the game, and y'all got him at guard. When this is a year, if you're a guard that didn't play the game, it shows.
Oh, yes.
Mama starting off slow, it showed. Like, if you didn't play the game, if you don't play the game now, at guard, on my mama, it shows. It's no way to hide it. It's no way to blend it in. You can't sprinkle over the bullshit. It's just nice hot shit showing clear as day. Mm-hmm. So it's no point to have him at lock. But again, it's so early. So that's the whole point. Change things now. Why are we giving things chance when y'all are last in field goal percentage, last in 3-point percentage? Like, y'all are last in everything offensively. It's nothing to, we going to figure it out. Hey, bro, y'all ain't got that time. Like, if y'all was showing, specks of hope, y'all not. Y'all show specks of hope against the Knicks. And the Knicks got a damn point guard who, when his shooting guard is hot, he don't even give him the damn ball. Mm-hmm. I watched his shooting guard have 31 points. And for the last shot, he shot a heavy with 18 seconds left for the game. So it's like you got to know when to hold them and when to fold them.
Mhm.
This lineup, man, it's time to fold that shit. It's terrible.
Well, just to put this in context for you guys, so you guys know, the Magic's so tomorrow at 10 o'clock they play Hornets, then they play the Nets on Thursday, and then they play the Grizz. They have 2 games on there that I think are very, very winnable games for the Magic to kind of turn themselves around in this group. So those 2 games, again, I think the Nets matchup is pretty tough because they look like one of the best teams in that group, in my opinion, at this point, other than the Raptors, of course. But I think that those are 2 very, very winnable games, Grizz and Hornets, because again, you're starting to see the Hornets team kind of figure it out, but I think that Magic gaming team definitely can kind of get a win over that team and the Grizz. The Nets will be tough, but either way, I don't see why they can't at least get those 2 wins in that group. But I definitely do agree with both of you guys. I can't believe that Matty didn't come out on like one of the guard positions, and the first thing was to put him on one of the locks. I think we will see tomorrow Matty at either shooting guard or maybe maybe they keep Cap a PG. I think it's very likely they will just for the tournament. But at the same, I mean, that's not. I don't think they'd put him on lock, but like I think that they would keep Cap at probably the PG, and like you said, put Matty at the shooting guard and put Snubby at lock, which would make sense. And I thought that again, to Ye's point, I thought that made sense, like going out with that lineup. And once I saw the lineup they came out with, I was like, okay. I don't know if that was just a players thing or was that like a coaching thing. I don't know. But any final thoughts on this Magic gaming team, guys?
I got nothing.
Just make that lineup change. I don't think putting Cap off a point guard makes sense. I don't think he is glitchy enough to play the 2. So I feel like the point guard is it for him. Just play to his strengths, the floor general or, control the game. Like the dudes who co-signed for him mainly was JBM and Keena, who are 2 gods of the point guard class. So it's just like if they're tipping their hat and boosting them up, he has to have something there. So if he has something there, just leave him where he is and just put Matty there so you have a scoring option. Because right now, they don't have any. They can't put the ball in the hoop, and that's a problem. So I feel like once you make that change, we'll see who they are. I think they're with 0-2. So again, I'm not heavily judging them until I see them go 1-4, 0-5, things of those sorts. I still think that team can do something. So we just got to wait and see.
Yeah, I agree. I kind of want to bring up the point, though. You talked about the year too early, and that's something I kind of talked a lot about in the pre-draft leading up to the situation. It was kind of an evaluation I had. I do agree that it is a little. I felt like it was a year too early for Cap, and this is like one of those scenarios where you don't play well, you could be a one and done type of guy. What does Cap have to do to make sure? Like again, like I obviously we could just say that he could just play great. You know what I mean? But like, what level of play do you think can at least keep Cap on this roster? Is it like is his current play going to keep him on this roster? And I'll start with you, JT.
What'd you say about the roster?
Sorry. No, I was asking with Cap. So you talked about the point of a year too early, and you talked about how basically with this guy, I mean, he has high praise from some people. Is Cap in danger if he doesn't perform like to a certain level that he could basically be out of the league or one and done? Because how patient can this Magic Gaming team be if they're in a rebuilding and if they have 2 lottery picks next year? Could we see Cap like off this team on retain?
Yes, because the draft class coming in includes guards like Spam,
Green.
possibly Chalk, Greens, Fab.
Mm-hmm.
So, like possibly, yeah, but in a sense, like you only have one other possible point guard on the team, which is Matty, which I still don't think like if he can't save the team at the 2, I don't think he'll save it at the 1 because I think at the 2 he can have a bigger impact because he can leak, he can play defense primarily, which is one of his specialties, and he can just score. He can really attack non-locks. So he is a year too early, but it's like they made that bet already. You can't go back and reverse that decision. So he has to be your guard regardless. You aren't going to put him not at guard. So if you put him at the 2, what if he has no defense and he's up top just shaking ass? Then what? You know, like it's just like you have to know what you drafted and kind of live with it. And Matty at the 2 makes sense for that team. So we'll see what they come out to be, but I don't think it's no point to give up on them because they don't have some stacked team. They don't have this team to where they should have pressure. Nobody expects them to be good. Everybody calls them ass. Not saying they think they're ass, but if you don't have pressure and you don't have expectations, what are you panicking for? You have no reason to panic when you're not even booked to be good. You're booked to be dog shit.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the final thing we'll say about Magic Gaming. We're going to move on. The next team we're going to talk about is 76ers GC. So, 76ers GC, again, a team I looked at as being one of the better teams coming into this conference for the Eastern Conference. They kind of led up to my expectations. They kind of fell short in that game against the Raptors. Was it the Raptors? I'm pretty sure they lost to
Wizards.
Wizards. Oh yeah, Wizards. They had a very close game with that Wizards team, and I think that Wizards team will kind of get into that team after this. But like the Sixers team, they're in the middle. They're one. Well, actually, are they 1-2?
2-1.
Wait, am I looking at this right?
2-1.
2-1.
Oh,
They were
beat the Heat and
2-1.
Celtics.
2-1.
Lost
That's what I was gonna
against the
say.
Wizards.
Okay, that's what I was gonna say. All right, I gotta talk to Matt. If you're here, you gotta fix your stuff here. It's all messed up on your site. Yeah, I mean, well, this Sixers team, in my opinion, they are one of the better teams in this conference. They look good. They had a close game with the Wizards where they just didn't close out in overtime. But they look like the team that I expect them to be. And Dre has looked pretty good. Again, I don't think he didn't have a great game in that Wizards game, but you're going against one of the best defenses in the league, so that's kind of expected. But overall, they're living up to my expectations so far. What are your thoughts on this team, Ye?
I think Dre is just fucking moving. I think he looks really good. I think he's playing like MVP caliber basketball right now. But you gotta understand, like with the Sixers, we know at this point, like Jeff Terrell gets them boys prepared every single year, no matter who's on the roster. His 5th year in a row getting those guys prepared. So kudos to him. Got to give him his flowers. But Dre looks good, even though he didn't really play too much retail. But the fact that he's coming out blazing right out the gate, and the only loss is a 3-point game against a 2-time defending champs, I think the Sixers team is looking solid for this tournament. I think the only real question mark, and this is a small question mark, and you might think I'm like silly for this. I don't know how good that front court will be in its totality in terms of like getting stops against the best teams, and that's the only thing I really see like kind of hindering them from being like a top 5 team in the league.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, I kind of understand where you're coming from with that. I think Yusuf has looked pretty good. I mean, again, we do have to see him matched up against some of the better centers. How did he do? I don't remember how well he did against Dave Fry. Again, that's kind of probably a good estimate, like to kind of like a good way to foreshadow the season. I mean, he had 15 and 10. Again, I don't.
Dave Fry, he had 15 and 10. Dave Fry had 8 and 11. But Dave Fry don't really give a fuck about scoring like that.
Yeah, again, it's kind of like he matched up pretty well. Like I don't think that like again, not like gonna let stats tell everything because at the end of the day, like it is about like eye test with that. But I think for the most part, Yusuf, he didn't look too bad against Dave Fry. It's not like there was like this huge drop off between the two. So like I do understand what you're saying. Like it really is going to be a testament to this team how good their front court is. Kind of just to see how like what's the like that will kind of like tell us what their ceiling is going to be for this team. But JT, what's your thoughts on this Sixers team?
The Sixers, in my opinion, are probably top 3 in the East right now. Dre's the best PG in the league after week 1, averaging almost 27, almost 10 assists, averaging 2 TLs a game, shooting 59% from the field, 50% from 3. Like he's bad. He's moving. He's dangerous. And I feel like they also have a point guard who is a combo or a shooting guard who used to be a point guard, but who really used to be one of the best sharps in the world. He was never really one of the best PGs in the world, always been good, but at sharp, he was just Zeus. and now he can get back to play that and only worry about that and not about running the show. And then with Yusuf, he's never really had the opportunity in a sense to just stick to one position, even though he's always been on the Kings and they're good. Like now he can really play what he wants to play at center and not worry about nothing else. And he's showing that he can play it. Like everybody says he's overhyped and some of his awards maybe not as deserving because of his team. So now he's on a lesser team on the defensive aspect. So if he still does the same thing and kind of what he's doing now, you just got to tip your hat. So I think that team will stay a top 3 or 4 team in the East because they're well put together. They have Drake, Reed, Eli, DT, and like Ye said, that's probably the biggest worry, if there is one, is can Eli and DT or underrated go get consistent stops? I'm not saying they can't because right now they're up and down. They give up 50, give up 60 twice. Like they're playing solid D as of now, but that has to keep going. Mm-hmm. We can't just go off the 3 games we've seen that's made them 2-1 because they could easily be 3-0, easily.
Yeah,
they're doing their thing. So I'm not surprised by how they look at all. I'm just surprised that Dre is coming out this loud this early. Mm-hmm. Like he looks the best, and the Wizards he looked the worst. But his worst game is 25-7, shooting 10 for like right. You know what I'm saying? Like that's his worst. Right, still shot 50, even though he's 5 for 14 from 3. Mm-hmm. But that was his worst. Like he's scary. He's on timing. Mm-hmm. Like he came to hoop this season. He came to lock in. Like that team is amazing to me.
I definitely agree. So, do you think the Sixers, if you were to rank their backcourt at this point, where do you think it is? Are they a top 5 backcourt, top 10 backcourt? Where does the Sixers backcourt rank at this point, in your opinion? Again, I know it's 3 games. I know we don't have a crazy amount, but if you were to give like an early like presumption of like this team, like what do you think this backcourt ranks in this league right now?
You have to give them top 5 in my opinion because of, to be honest, just Dre. Like just Dre alone and Reed will give you a good 10 a game. But I give them top 5 because of just efficiency. Like it's a lot of backcourts who shoot more shots than them that put up less numbers and are less productive. So with the way they're more efficient and they're still scoring, like I give them top 5 in the early 2 to 3 games off of week 1. But we'll see how they fare out.
Yeah, definitely for sure. Yay, where do you think this backcourt ranks among the league?
I agree with JT. I think it's top 5. Just how efficiently Dre's been playing. They're winning games, and then Reedy doesn't look bad too, coming in at the 2. I feel like he fits in right away. Like I said before, Jeff is good at getting those guys prepared. I think with the upcoming games, I think I want to say 2 out of 3 of them are very winnable games. They're better. Even like the game against the defending champs, they look solid. They just had to clean up a little bit here and there. But I got to give them top 5 just for the backcourt alone.
Yeah. What about their front court, though, Yay? Do you think that like that's kind of like, would you say it's an average backcourt in the middle, near the bottom of the league, or a top-tier front court?
I wouldn't put them in the bottom. I think they're about mid-tier to like higher mid-tier. It's kind of hard to put that with only 24 teams, but I wouldn't give them like top 10, probably floating around like that 10-11 area. Mm-hmm. So it's like that front court. I think with Eli, I think Eli was a solid lock, but like with Kobe and DT, I think their ceilings aren't that high. Like Kobe would have to come in like how he did for what was it, season 2 or 3, where he like came out like a ministry, like most improved type caliber play. He has to get into that kind of bag to really to propel them to like a higher status in top 10.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Anyway, we're gonna move on. We're gonna go to Wizards DG real quick. Wizards DG. Obviously, this is a team that has a brand new point guard. the expectations were still high for this team. They're coming off of, being two-time champs. Obviously, they lose Jack, but they come in. I still expected them to be pretty good with that defense, and they are. This team, I mean, they dropped. What are they, 2-1? I'm pretty sure, or are they 1-2? I mean, not 1-2. They're 2-1. I'm pretty sure. Let me double check that one. Wizards DG.
They're 1-2.
No, they're 2-1.
They're 2-1.
They're 2-1. They're 2-1. They're 2-1.
They lost to Gingy by 20.
Yeah. So I mean, that was their first game, and that's again, that's the kind of the point that JT brings out. Like, that was their first real, like, actual league game. Obviously, like, I'm sure they played scrims, but it's their first time ever coming together and playing a game together in the league, and they go against a team that's been talked about as being one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference. So I felt like it was a tough evaluation, just them playing that one game. But now that we've kind of seen them progress through these games, they went against a very bad Hawks team. So again, that is what it is. And then they go against the Sixers team, which again, they went to overtime. I think this was a true testament to the potential this team can reach. They still fight. They're not going to get walked on in the Eastern Conference. They're still a good team. Ty looked like he was getting a little more comfortable. I kind of want to get your guys' thoughts on Ty at PG and just overall, like, what is the forecast for this Wizards DG team coming into this year? And I'll start with you, Ye, on this one.
Yeah, like you said, I think he kind of had a rough start first couple games, but against the Sixers, he looked a little more comfortable. I think it's just he's gonna get better as time progresses. I think they drafted somebody who is really smart, that fits the guys around him. And then on the defensive end, they're going to get stops. Like, teams haven't really been scoring on them. As you can see, Hawks 44. Even Gingy, even 20-point loss, Gingy only scored 63 points. So they're not like Gingy had 80. And that's like one of the best teams in the conference. So I think they're going to win games off defense alone, which takes a little bit of pressure off of Ty, gives him some time to make some mistakes and find his spots. And then the next two games are very winnable games. They got the Heat and then the Celtics. So give them time to really get comfortable before the in-person play starts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm happy that the Wizards, are coming out the way they did. I kind of expected them to at least make it out of the group. I don't know how it will look once they, get back in the bracket. I think they'll still be a pretty good team in this league. I think they'll still return to the playoffs, especially, in my opinion. Again, I know everyone kind of hammers the Eastern Conference. It's not a good conference, and it's very possible that this Wizards team can make it regardless if they're just an average. This team could be average and still make it to the playoffs with the way they are. But I mean, they've definitely shown some good signs so far. JT, thoughts on this Wizards team?
The Wizards are shit. The Wizards. I mean, they're a top defensive team in the league that had to replace the best point guard to ever do it by league standards. So primarily, I've seen Ty play. I've known Ty since probably 2K15. So it's just with him getting comfortable because, to be honest, I don't care who you are. It's a big ask. Like, of course, nobody will tell him he needs to replace JBM. But if you're anybody else that's not Ty on that roster, you want a three-peat. And Ty wants to get his first and help them three-peat. So in a sense, it's just him getting comfortable in his role and just playing and just understanding that, again, PG's, I feel like this season more than any, since it might be the toughest, you have to find a way to play to your strengths. You can't try to play to anybody else's standards. You have to play to your strengths that can benefit you and the team. Because the Wizards are going to get them enough stops. Like Ye said, they're giving up on average 56 points a game right now, that's plenty of space to win the game and work on your game. But he has to also just be his biggest critic and just lean on his center, lean on Ryan. Like, he has to really, I was teammates with Ryan. He has to really lean on Ryan and sit down with him and watch his own film and work on his game and everywhere he can improve that. If Ty wants to, he could be one of the best in the league, primarily because of his center alone. Mm-hmm. So what he does is strictly up to him, and I think they'll still be a top 3 team in the East by far, because they just that defense, it's hard to just look at that front court and not even put them in contention. They just get too many damn stops. And then B Rich is also not really a ball handler. So that gives also Ty more like he's not really on a leash. He doesn't have to just give the ball up. He can really work on his game as a point guard and really use B Rich for what he is, which is a sharp. Now can B Rich make a play? Yes. But what is he best at? A sharp. JBM showed that. So when Ty gets super comfortable offensively, the Wizards really will pan out to probably be the best team in the East because of that defense primarily.
So what are the chances if you were to say like Vegas odds, or not even Vegas odds, but like what are the chances this team gets a three-peat at this point? Is it just like let's say a percentage. So let's go from 1 to 100 percentage wise. What are the chances that Wizards DG becomes a 3-time champion? I'll start with you, JT. Just kind of give me like a rough range of like 50%, 60%. Like what's the percentage that this team becomes a 3-time champion?
Because they're in the East, which means they have less of a path along with that hellacious defense. I'm gonna give them a cool 65% right now, as of now.
I like that. I think that I definitely could see that. I think that in my bold predictions, I kind of predicted this team getting it together really well around the Churn tournament. I think that I'm actually shocked to see Ty already kind of taking those steps. Like he's instead of taking just like, you know, little steps, he's taking like huge strides. He's basically like from 3 games in, this guy's already, you know, kind of progressing forward. Again, in that Sixers game, he started out slow with 5 turnovers, finished the game, I'm pretty sure he had like almost 20 points. He had like only 1 turnover in the second half, from what I remember. The dude completely flipped the script on that game, and it was a confidence booster, because at the end of the day, you know, his thought is, I got to fill in shoes for a guy who is probably arguably one of the greatest PGs of all time in the league. So for him to get that confidence and see Dave Fry, and again, we saw that video with Dave Fry kind of just saying like, "This is your team now" type stuff and all this, like that's huge for Ty. I think that for the mental is huge for that team, and that win was more than just them getting out of possibly getting out of this group. It was more of it could be a season defining thing, a way that, you know, kind of help their season elevate further than expected. Yay. What if you were to give like an odds, like by percentage, that they become a 3-time champion? What would you put it as?
I think it's kind of tough. Just based off, I don't know where Ty's ceiling really is. I don't know how good he can be in terms of those high pressure series, because it's not just a best of one when you're really playing for the money. So I'm gonna have to go with like 20% chance. And that's just me just ballparking it, just because I don't know how good Ty can be in a series where you're playing the best teams, best of 3, best of 5 on stage. So I just got to get a good look at him from how he looks on the stage here in the tip-off tournament here in Indianapolis, and see how he moves. Maybe he improves. Maybe he looks way better on stage, which would be crazy. Or if he looks worse. So just got to give him a little more time before I really like pick up that percentage. But to start for now, the first 3 games, I'm going 20%.
Yeah, that's fair. I'll go with like a 30%. I kind of agree with JT on the Eastern Conference being a better path for them. They don't have to go as much to the gulag as like a team like the Jazz, because the Jazz got to go through the Warriors and T-Wolves. So it's like the chances of that team returning back is kind of hard, just because of how good that conference is. But I definitely understand the high expectations of confidence in this Wizards team, because defense really can go a long way. A lot of teams can do, you know, you can see teams have great offenses, but defense is ultimately what is going to change things. And the fact that teams are averaging 55 points a game, and that's a top 5 defense. Like the fact that like that defense is what it is. Again, Ty just has to go out there and be above average. He doesn't have to be Jack. He doesn't have to be this crazy guard, and even Jack's numbers weren't like crazy. Like Jack had good, like he was really good at not turning the ball over, but Jack wasn't out there like freaking 630 scoring 36 like or whatever 30 plus a game. he did his job. And that's really all you have to do. I mean, you have a great group of guys who know how to stick it out even when the times get hard, times get rough. Like, this team knows how to mentally still lock in regardless of the situation. So, I think that the expectations for the Wizards is they are going to be a top 3 team. I do agree with JT at this point. I think they are a top 3 team in that Eastern Conference. But definitely, looking forward to seeing them this week as well. Next team up is going to be Bucks GG. Bucks GG. Now, this is a team that came out first game of the year, basically punched the Mavs. I'm pretty sure they played. They punched the Mavs in the face, in the mouth. they came out and they actually absolutely steamrolled this Mavs team. But then they go into their next 2 games and they drop one to Duke's Gaming. They dropped a game versus the Warriors, which, again, Warriors, they had a close game with the Warriors, which, is a good light for them. And they're 1-2 at this point. Now, they're in a tough group, so it's definitely very possible they can still get out of this group, of course, but it's just like, if they drop one more game, and this is another team that if they drop one more game, and especially to the Kings on Thursday, they're done. Like, that's their game defying. Like, that game against the Kings on Thursday, it's going to defy whether or not they get out of the group. It's that simple. But I kind of want to get your guys' thoughts on this Bucks GG team. And I'm going to start with you on this one, JT.
I feel like the Bucks are a prime example of let them play the damn game. As in, everybody's favorite player or favorite people went there and they just automatically gassed them up. And now they're 1-2. And they still have tough games left. They're still in a tough group. So it's like, I feel like this team will be fighting for that 5th and 6th spot in the West when it boils down to it. But they just have to, in a sense, get their defense down along with who's going to close the game. I feel like Jack said, that's huge. Like, a team has to know who's going to close the game. Not saying a PG always has to, or a shooting guard has to do it, but it has to be some kind of system in place. That way, for most instances, it just lines up how it's supposed to, and it's not really much confusion. But I do like the team. They're just in a tough group, and hopefully their group isn't as tough in the turn. But I do like the team. I do think, like I said, they'll be that 5th seed or fighting in that ticket and a good chance to win the 6th spot. So they'll be a pretty good team, in my opinion. But they're in the West, so they can be a solid team and still end up amounting to nothing because of the conference they're in.
Yeah. I just think it's kind of tough for this team because it's like they're not a bad team. They're probably, I projected them to be that team that's going to be fighting, in and out of playoffs, kind of they're going to be in the middle of things. They're going to be in the logjam of teams. They're going to be a bubble team for playoffs. But they're 1-2 right now. It's really crucial in this tournament that they win games because I know you bring up the point that, if a team goes into the bracket, they might only be up by 1 point against some teams, but that 1 point is obviously going to be a huge difference maker when it comes to those logjam teams. And a team like this really needs to get out of their group so they can get that, the upper hand in those situations. So, I mean, it's definitely going to be a very back and forth year for this Bucks GG team, but there's definitely a lot of promising light around it. I mean, there's definitely, them having a close game against the Warriors, and it's one game, you know what I mean? You brought up the point, that teams adjust to each other in series. It's a lot different versus one game situation. So a lot will change, but this Bucks team, they're solid. I think they're very, I have very high expectations at this point now with them, but there's definitely going to be a lot of back and forth with this team. Yay. Thoughts on Bucks GG?
Yeah, I'm gonna give my thoughts, and then I might have to dip up out of here. Yeah. But with the Bucks, I don't dislike the way they've been playing lately. They don't look like a bad team. They are in a tough group. They came out, punched Mavs in the mouth, like you said, and they had 2 tough games right after that with Dukes and Warriors gaming, where they were an earshot in both of those games. Defensively, I think they're an underrated team. Defensively, they don't look that bad. I think against those two good teams, they had to put the ball in the hole a little bit more. I think once Johnny and Cooks, I think they're kind of in this small, like, I don't know how to explain it. I feel like we don't know who's the primary option yet with those two guys. Like, I think they both kind of want to get the rock and put the ball in the hole. I think they kind of have similar personalities in that sense. I think once they learn how to work together a little more soundly and they're able to like kind of bounce off of each other and play off each other a little more efficiently, I think that team is going to be solid. But I don't think it's going to happen here in the tip-off. They got to play the Pacers, who might have a bounce-back game, who knows? And then they had to play the Kings, who's coming off a good performance last week. So they could turn it around and win these two games if both teams kind of slack off or they're having the issues, whatever issues they might have. Or on paper, I think they might go 1-1.
Mm-hmm. No, I definitely agree. Yeah, do you mind this will be the last team is Raptors. Is that okay with you, or do you have to really go? It's the last team, and then I'm just gonna kind of cut it off there at that point because then I'm gonna do power rankings by myself. But
I can take it around.
Yeah. So we're gonna do We're gonna talk about the Raptors as the last team, guys, because unfortunately we don't have time to talk about all these teams. So we'll cover the Raptors as our last game. So Raptors uprising again. A team currently right now is 3-0. I think this team. I said it before. If this team starts out well, they can go to the moon. But if they don't, they can go to the shitter. You know, it really was. I think this start is fantastic for them. But at the same time, I'm kind of worried when things kind of, winning is great. Every team is, everything is great when everyone's winning. This team needs to lose. They need to lose. They need to drop a game because I think that will make them a better team at this point. We need to see this Raptors team when they lose a game. If they go 5-0 in this group, that is the worst possible thing that can happen to them. And I know that sounds weird, but you can't have a team's got to learn how to lose and win. And I think it's important that they do it early.
I disagree with that.
No, because the Raptors team back in season 3, the problem is they were winning, and then once they lost, it kind of like really, really changed things for them. Like they lost. This is a 16-0 again. Back in the day, they were a 16-0 team, and as soon as they faced like a little adversity, the team just again they lost to the Wizards, if I'm not mistaken. Which I mean, again,
I get what you're saying, but I think I disagree with that. Just because one, if you look at everybody with Fanta, all those guys have had successful seasons from successful in terms of like not like getting a championship, but they had solid season. Every single person on that roster has been through the ups of having a good year and then not winning a championship. You had Kenny, who had an MVP year, won 3 banners. You had Big Saint, who had a banner, and he went into the playoffs thinking they had a real good shot to win a championship. Type, who won 2 banners in Golden State and had to go through his ups and downs in his career. So like all these guys have been humbled a bit, other than Fanta. I think maybe Fanta's like the only person where he's like might be getting a big head. He has the biggest fan base out of everybody on the team. And he's playing exceptionally right now with a 3-0 start. So if you think the losing might affect anybody per se, I would say it might be Fanta. But with all those, you might look at it from a personality standpoint because everybody's kind of like alpha personalities. But in terms of like being humble to understand how the league works and how momentum carries from game to game, I think the core veterans of that team understand that. And as long as they're winning games, I mean, I understand what you're saying. Like you may have to drop a game to really look in the mirror, but I think these guys kind of get it. They're like, hey, this is how we lost. Let's clean it up. Even though they're all, from a personality standpoint, it's kind of might bump heads a little bit. But I think from an experience standpoint, I think they'll be able to pull it together and continue to win games, especially in this Eastern Conference.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree with you on that one, Jay. JT, thoughts on this Raptors team, and then we'll wrap it up kind of just doing all around the league coverage.
The Raptors, I can say, are a surprise. I'll be the first to say I did have them not coming out the group, but then I switched it like 2 minutes later, had them coming out the group. But I'll just say the biggest shout out to my boy Doms. He went to center, and he's at center, and he's doing his thing. I was the first one to say I don't know how he'll look against other good centers. I don't know how he'll match up, but it's Doms. Doms has the IQ of some of the best, like it's almost second to none. So he's just that center using all his IQ on both ends, and it's panning out well. And that team, they have defense. The only person who has defense who you can look at that you're just unsure of is Fanta because we haven't seen it. But you got Fanta, Kenny, Saint, Tight, Doms. Like that's a great put together team. It's just the biggest question was the lineup. But the lineup, I can't question no more. Like Doms was my only question, and Doms is giving me a reason not to question him. So if Doms keeps playing how he's playing, Fanta's looking really good. Fanta's making reads I didn't even see him make confidently in retail. Like Fanta's making just amazing reads, and that was his biggest worry. Will he dribble the air out the ball? Can he score the same? Can he make an impact when he's not scoring? Can he make the right plays? He's doing that. Like that team is just hooping on all cylinders right now. So that's another top 3, top 4 team in the East to me. So I like the Raptors. I think they'll have a great season. I don't think they need the L like you said, which makes sense. Every team kind of needs adversity, but they had their losses back then. You got to understand that was best of 3. Nobody beat them twice. So it's just they end up playing a team 3 times. It's hard to beat a good team 3 times. They beat the Wizards 2 other times. They had to beat the Wizards a 3rd time. That's very hard to do. You're giving it was the best half-court defense team, the Wizards, against the best full-court defense team, the Raptors. So the Wizards just got them in the half-court, and they lost. So they don't need to lose. Nobody needs to lose no more at this point to learn because it's just at some point they're going to lose. Nobody's going undefeated this season. That's my hot take. Nobody, not one team.
Yeah, I agree with that one. I don't think anyone is going to go undefeated. I don't think at this point, with the way the setup is this year, I mean, it's a lot of tournaments, so I mean, there is a chance, but it's just like, it's kind of tough. I think the league is very competitive this year. It's very hard. So I doubt we see that happen, but we never know. But anyway, guys, this is the last team. My evaluation is Raptors team before I kind of transition over into my weekly power rankings. I want to say the Raptors, great job. Good job by Saint. I know Saint was kind of, he didn't like my bold prediction. Again, I thought it was going to be a very bad year for him. So far, he's looking good. He's looking good so far. But I think this Raptors team did definitely surprise me as well. I did have them coming out of their group because I think in the Eastern Conference, I looked at them as being a pretty good team. My power rankings, I had them as like a 6 seed coming in this year, kind of, flirting around that idea of, moving in and out of playoffs. But regardless of, what I said before, I think this team is looking very good. I'm excited to see them on stage. This is a team I want to see on stage. Like, this is a game I'd want to go watch. But, I'm happy for them so far, them being 3-0. It's looking pretty prevalent that they're going to be out of the group. So, yeah. But anyway, guys, this is the coverage from Around the League for 2K Crossfire Episode 2. I appreciate JT, Ye, and Jack for obviously coming in, kind of giving their insights on teams. I think it's awesome. Love having them on, the show. Again, if there's any 2K League pros out there, former pros that want to come on here anytime, you're more than welcome. Obviously, we had Sherm last week. We had Ye step in this week. But I do appreciate JT and Ye. I am going to be doing my power rankings, but I do want to just say my goodbyes to them, and hopefully we see them next week. JT, anything you want to say before you sign off?
Nah, a lot of stuff I got to say I can't say just yet. So I'm gonna just say stay tuned.
I like that one. Hey, stay tuned. Yay. Any final thoughts before you sign off on 2K Crossfire?
I mean, same thing, really. Look out for the Yay Ladders. Yay Ladders making a comeback.
Yay ladders.
Yes, sir.
When should we expect the yay ladders to be dropped? Because you have. I know you're dropping all this pro-am content. Are you dropping any power rankings or anything?
With the A ladders, you're gonna have to stay tuned, man. It's gonna be a pop up.
It's just gonna be a pop up. Are we gonna see it tomorrow? Because
Nah, not that soon.
Nah, you're gonna wait until after the tournament. All right. Well, appreciate you, Ye, for coming on here, man. Appreciate JT. I hope you guys have a good night. Hope to see you guys next week.
All right, take it easy, man.
Take it easy.
Already. Simo, go crazy. Keep hooping, boy.